They got me on cam?
Yeah, what you think, man?
Alright, personally, what I think, man, obviously, man, the black families are very well starving. You know, we have many single homes. Over 70% of black households are single parents. You know, mainly, I think, was it 85% is the mom that's the head of the house. The dads usually either leave, get locked up. Some of them just not involved because of the mom's consent. You gotta, you know, they might be taking a devastating effect on how the black person is actually grown up. And from what I see, you know, that could definitely be a dangerous thing. You know, I believe a lot of, you know, they should have more stay-at-homes. You know, child support shouldn't be such a major issue. Child support is actually breaking homes. You know, when a mom said that she could leave her dad and get child support, a lot of moms tend to take that option. And whether people like to admit it or not, that's a big thing. You know, a lot of people look at me like, Eric, you weird. There's people in the city like, Eric, you weird, because I don't change my talk and spoke 2 languages on their ass. But they don't understand the game is still the same. You know, you have to understand your background, where you come from. You know, you have to be able to make the change. You know, if you're not able to make that change, then in other words, you're gonna probably take the slate and fall right in the grave where the rest of them are at. You know, when Martin Luther King made his speech, he made that speech obviously for equality among all people. You know, and for some reason, it seems like minorities have been slipped out of that issue over the last 30 years. I probably, well, let me say it in a nice way, slipped out by a lot over the last years. You know, but. All right, let me conclude this conversation real quick. Yes, the black population of America is decreasing in many ways. Even though Obama is in office, you know, very well he's proceeding of a white man. Let me repeat this again. He is proceeding of a white man. Don't blame him on us. You know, his school background will tell you the story, you know. Even where he come from, tell you the background. Even though he played basketball, there are many white basketball players. Larry Bird is a perfect example if you think I'm joking. Looking at his history and his background does not explain anything of a black background. You know, the dude went to school in Hawaii. There are no black people in Hawaii. So people need to stop saying this, you know. But as far as you know, as education, neighborhood, and surrounding go, that is a very huge issue. You know, a lot of these black people going on single homes. You know, then on top of that, you go outside. You know, if you have no dad, if you got this dope dealer giving you money, you know, he is playing the father figure role. You know, and whether people like to admit it or not, that's true. You know, he might be killing people, you know, on the corner, you know, to get money to feed his kids. But the state of fact is, he is playing the father role when he see you on the corner, you know. Yeah. And that's why a lot of these pressures make little kids slip into the game. You know, it's very hard to follow. It's very hard to avoid these games when the games are presenting good opportunities in front of your face. You know, I know this personally because I don't. You know, let me explain. I don't see many of these, have witnessed them, and very much have been in them. You know. And a lot of people, you know, as we heard in the conversation, the last conversation, you know, they failed to mention this. You know, they scraped the surface of it, but they never went into details of why these kids fall into these games. You know, when I started, you know, when I started doing many hustles like breaking in houses, that came from the fact that money needs to get in the house. It didn't come from something that I wanted to do. Ain't nobody want to break in no darn house. If you want to break in a house, you just one dumb person. There's no such thing as someone who want to break in a house. The whole objective of breaking a house, taking something, is to earn some kind of revenue, income, or profit, or even a net margin if you're an accounting major. You know, it all goes based on, you know, the objective. The objective in that case is to make money. You know, when there's money presented, and the reason why that money is not presented is because the net of no resources presented in the neighborhood. You know, a lot of people resort to these crimes because lots of jobs. You know, like for example, I come from Liberty City. In the 70s, Liberty City had a big industry. You know, they used to make parts. They used to make factory things for dolls. Something that a lot of people don't even know in the city, you know. The reason why I noticed is they never looked it up. You know, that factory closed. That used to be strong. And then around that factory, they used to have little black bars and clubs that you see today in Overtown that are now closed. And a lot of black people don't know about this, you know. But see, these areas were booming in those days. And the reason what took them away was actually segregation, believe it or not. But see, what happened was, what went wrong with it was they did not preserve the culture. Instead of preserving the culture, they pretty much left the culture, and then they pretty much split the neighborhood up. And then the jobs lost, and then everybody that was left there to preserve the culture was pretty much split the decision to make money or preserve culture. Now you live in America, obviously preserve money has to be one of your main objects if you want to live. So, like a lot of people, like I said the first time, a lot of people are not up on these subjects. You know, they're not up on these subjects. They need to get their head up there. You know, a lot of people not understanding the resources, opportunities. Yeah, they talk about education, but see, dope dealers have education. You think people that sell drugs for 20 years don't understand how the streets work when they sell them? That's education. You don't just walk to no block and say, hey, let me ship a rock to you. You have to understand how the block is shipped. You got to understand what rivals you have. You got to understand when the competitors are. You got to understand who could even turn on you in the market. So in other words, you have to be educated to understand that game. So education is not really the issue that we're talking about, is it? No. Education is not even the problem. they get very well educated. You know, maybe it's the wrong thing to most people. You know, me myself, hey, I wanted to be a drug seller. I'll say it right now in front of everybody. You know, I wanted to be one. But you know, like I said the first time, you know, I saw a positive opportunity probably at the last minute. You know, like the very last minute. You know, most people miss these opportunities. You know, what happened in my case, I caught that one opportunity, and I probably say most people probably miss it. You know, and that's a realistic reality fact too. You know, whether we like to hear it or not. You know, let's talk about education. Like we need to be educated. It's probably the most ignorant thing I probably ever heard. Black people get very educated. You can walk through Poke Beans, you can walk through any bad neighborhood, or any good neighborhood black people live in, and ask black people they know. They'll tell you nothing, but start talking to them about something. Like, for example, talk to a felon about crime. You'll find a lot of felons know more about law than the lawyers do. You know, see, a lot of people are very unaware of these subjects. It's not education that's really killing it. You know, there's a resource that's involved in the neighborhoods. You know, resources, the structures they come from, their background, and then also the lack of history. A lot of these black people don't even know the history. You know, I went to Little Haiti. One dude was telling me, running around with a Haitian flag, don't even know who was the president of Haiti. I know the president of Haiti, and I'm not Haitian. That's a hint. You know, Rene Preval. You know, he used to run the office in '97, came back in '06 after the coup. You get what I'm saying? Now this is coming from a dude who's not Haitian, but you walk to most Haitians, they don't know this. Now this is a quick note to let you know where their education level is at. You know, and it's funny how people talk about culture, but they don't understand a thing about it. You know, me, it just happens. My major happens to be evolving, but a lot of people are not up on their culture status. And see, this is actually affecting black people because you got black people with many cultures who can't acknowledge those cultures. The cultures fall off the surface. You know, they try to adapt to one culture. You know, and that culture is pretty much making money. You know, the culture is not really, you know, what they think it is. You know, a lot of parents are trying to preserve it, but you see the kids are breaking away from the culture. Like interracial marriage. You know, interracial dating. That's part of it too. You know, there's a lot of concerns that a lot of people are not addressing within the black culture, you know, or even the black population, or even the black race, to be exact. You know, and all these things need to be addressed. You know, I ain't saying eliminate it because I'm strongly for it. You know, eliminate is not going to solve the problem. I'm saying you need to address the resources that are lost from this. You know, when you have parents, you know, when you have big corporations that's in these neighborhoods that was making money back in the days, a lot of black people could have been a truck driver and made 70 grand a year. In those days, 70 grand. You know, 70 grand in those days is probably 100 grand today. You know, to make 70 grand in those days, and then come back being a truck driver now make 50 grand now, that's a difference, you know. And that might have a lot to do with globalization as well. You know, it also has something to do with no resources involved, you know. Like I was saying the first time, you know, if the money is not able to get shipped somewhere, in other words, the money is gone. You know, simple as that, you know. If you're not able to put the money on the table, guess what? You don't have a deal. Simple as that, you know. A lot of people, you know, the truth is international is whooping our butt. You know, they're taking our money. That's the very much truth. If you think I'm joking, go look at India, go look at China, go look at the industries they're building. The industries they're building were our industries in the 70s. You know, they are beating us in our own market. You know, they're taking your buildings, you know, all that, you know, like I said, CEOs have found the cheapest way to produce, and that's overseas. That's where all the money is at, you know. And when you take it away from these, in case you haven't noticed, at first, a lot of these industries started in minority areas. You know, that's where they started at. They moved to middle-class white areas because there was no space in the cities where the black people were living at. That's what happened with a lot of these industries. You know, for anybody who knows their history, that's exactly what happened. And pretty much what happened, like, if you're familiar with Detroit, Detroit was a very strong black city, you know. Besides Motown, they also had a strong automotive business, you know. In the 70s, they moved their first headquarters to Mexico. You know, y'all might have seen this in the Michael Moore video. I'm not sure if y'all familiar with it, but I'm gonna go a little deaf on it. You know, the CEO that worked there was from Taiwan. Something they probably didn't tell you in that video, but you know, I did this on the case. You know, he was from Taiwan. You know, dude said, "Hey, why make it in the U.S. when you get it 25 times cheaper?" And the other white CEO that was currently running that factory would say, "Hey, listen to him. He knows what he's talking about." So he took his advice and pretty much moved it to Mexico. Now, even though people probably happy because they get their car $5,000 cheaper, well, you're losing out $40,000 a year jobs. And see, that's a huge thing. You know, if you're in a city like Detroit, which has a lot of black people in, by the way, whether it's 8th Mile, or even the 9th Mile, there are a lot of black people in Detroit. You know, jobs were lost through that. You know, when you have black people losing their jobs, what jobs are they going to work at? You know, these dudes are making $22 an hour. Where do you think they're going to work at when they lose their job? And see, that's the question they don't address. You know, they got, instead what they did was they built up a bunch of Popeyes and Church's Chickens and opened up a couple liquor stores owned by Arabs in Detroit. That's exactly what happened. And you want to ask how that affect black people? Well, make a story short, they lost their job. If you're making 40 grand a year, that means you have a comfortable income, you know, coming in. That means pretty much when you lose your job, you need to find a job that's making 40 grand a year. If you're working at McDonald's full time, making 22 grand a year, how far you think that's gonna go?
So it's like pulling the mat from under the people in.
You know, losing 18 grand, you know, that's a scholarship to college for 1 year at some schools. Well, hell, that's a scholarship here for 4 years, $18,000 a year. You get what I'm saying? You know, that's a huge issue. You know, a lot of people are not addressing that issue. You know, and see whether